Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I take a call on behalf of New Zealand First with this split bill, the State Sector Amendment Bill, which we are opposing, the Public Finance Amendment Bill number 2, which we are supporting, and the Crown Entities Amendment Bill, which we are also supporting. And I will mainly speak on the State Sector Reform Bill, which New Zealand First is opposing. This very large, complex omnibus bill purports to be about providing the legislative basis for better public services, Mr. Speaker, and strengthening the legislative framework. Yes, there are lots and lots of fine words and empty phrases. More collaboration among government departments, sharing functions and services, sharing purchasing goods and services, logistics, more efficient, effective systems, and greater financial and reporting flexibility. And on it goes, the rhetoric. However, these are the same old buzzwords: efficiency, simplify, collaborate, logistics, flexibility, streamline, improve governance. These are the same old buzzwords that we hear time and time again, but actually where the rubber hits the road, it really isn't happening. What this bill does not acknowledge honestly is that the public services will continue to shrink in this country. The fabric of our public sector will continue to fray. And isn't it interesting, Mr. Speaker, that at a time when this government wants to decimate the public service, that on the other hand in Christchurch, a mainstay of the rebuild of the CBD is based on moving public servants into the centre of Christchurch, rebuilding large buildings there taken up by government departments, and this government says, oh, the future of the Christchurch CBD is very much anchored on public servants and public services being based in the CBD. And yet here in Wellington, where we have a Prime Minister who says this is a dying city, the capital of this country is a dying city, they are all about decimating the public service and reducing it to a shadow of its former great self. Mr. Speaker, this same thinking, or should I say lack of thinking, led to the likes of the Pike River coal mine disaster with the reduction in mines inspectors. It led to the Rena ship disaster where the work simply wasn't being done to ensure that the legislation was through, to make sure that New Zealand was fully covered in a situation like that. It led to a situation where an emergency vessel that was suggested never came to be, and where that wasn't carried out, so we didn't have the resources here. The nearest resource was in Singapore to react to such a situation. It led to the situation of the leaky homes where, again, they took their eye off the ball and allowed for many, many years this country to get into a situation of a decade of substandard building of homes, schools, hospitals and the likes. And now this national government, having changed the rules back in the 90s, having allowed leaky buildings to be built, is now having to spend the best part of $30 billion of New Zealanders' money to fix up their problems that they created back in the 1990s under a national government. It also led to the biosecurity breaches like the PSA infestation of kiwi fruit, where again they dropped the ball, and because there wasn't sufficient oversight, that occurred. It led to border control by our customs and immigration officers seeing some serious breaches, and where this is continually under threat, and where if the public service continues to reduce, our border security and our customs and immigration services will be severely curtailed. And we will have this situation where now under this government where they're allowing visa-free access for questionable people coming in on Southern China Airline to fly in, jump in the first available limo, go straight to Sky City, which is part of the rest of their sleazy deals, to go straight to Sky City and be there for a number of days, virtually without any scrutiny. Again, you would really wonder, is this country really being governed and really being taken care of? And is there a governance structure? And are they really wanting to ensure that we do have civil servants and a public service that can actually ensure the security and the well-being of this sovereign country? These issues are not going to be resolved by this bill, Mr Speaker. The short-term, ideologically based thinking that damaged New Zealand is not countered by this bill. This bill is not the solution for anything. Rather, it entrenches current problems. This bill will not stop the erosion and undermining of the public sector. A public sector, Mr Speaker, that New Zealand has always been very proud of. A public sector that has helped build the fabric and the spine of this country. The public sector that was responsible for creating our dams, our energy companies, our state-owned enterprises, the public sector that helped build the very infrastructure that keeps this country ticking over. The roading, the railways, the airlines, the military, the defence forces, the civil service that keeps the basis and the integrity of this country ticking over. Mr Speaker, if it was all left to private enterprise, as this national government would like to see, if it was all left to their government mates to run, we would be in a very sad state indeed in this country. This country has always had a very strong, sound public service sector. We have been a welfare state for the best part of the last century. We have been revered around the world for what our state services have provided to a small country which, when I was young, was only 2 million people, but which is now 4.5 million people, but during which time, for such a small population, for a relatively small country, we were able to punch heavily above our weight because we did have the state structure to support that for a very small population. This bill will not stop that erosion. Where is the evidence that this bill will bring more effective public services? Where is the evidence that this bill will lead to better quality public services and innovative ideas in the public service? Why is it necessary to strengthen the State Services Commissioner's role in leading the state services? And why do we need a new organisation arrangement to departmental agencies? Where is the justification for this increasing complexity? Mr Speaker, this bill creates an illusion of progress and improvement, but the evidence to support it is sadly missing. There is no clear and compelling case that this bill takes us to better and more cost-effective public services. No, we do not want a bloated public service, and we do not want a bloated public sector, but we do not want a hollowed-out one either. And that's what this national government would want to see, a hollowed-out public sector that can no longer deliver the requirements to New Zealand. Mr Speaker, New Zealand First will not be supporting the State Sector Amendment Bill.
Dr. Paul Hutchison.
It's a pleasure to